He was barely 20 when he set out to conquer the known world. A student of Aristotle, a god to his men, and a storm to his enemies. From Greece to Egypt, from Persia to the edge of India, he carved his name into history with blood and ambition. But power has a price, and even the man who almost conquered the world couldn't conquer himself. Alexander was born in 356 BC, the son of a king and of destiny. From a young age, he believed he was meant for greatness. He tamed a wild horse no one could control. They named it Bucephalus. Under the guidance of Aristotle, he learned philosophy, strategy, and the art of persuasion. But while others dreamed of glory, Alexander planned it. When his father was assassinated, he didn't mourn. He took command, and within months, the boy became king, leading one of the most disciplined armies in history. As he marched east, every victory fed his legend. The world began to whisper his name, not as a man, but as a myth. Centuries passed, empires rose and fell, but none like his. Alexander's army moved like lightning, defeating kings, crushing nations, and rewriting maps. In Egypt, they called him a god. In Persia, a conqueror. In Greece, a legend. But the further he went, the more his ambition grew. He dreamed not just of ruling, but of uniting the world under one name, his. He began to see himself as divine, untouchable, destined to shape the earth itself. Yet behind the victories, cracks began to form. His men were tired. His friends questioned him. Alexander had conquered everything, except peace. So what happens when a man reaches everything he's ever dreamed of? When there are no more kingdoms to conquer, no more enemies to defeat, only silence? Alexander's empire stretched from Greece to the edges of India. Yet inside, he began to crumble. The gods he worshipped had gone quiet. His friends had become ghosts, his soldiers, strangers. He was no longer a conqueror, he was a shadow chasing his own legend. In his final campaigns, Alexander pushed his men beyond exhaustion, into deserts, jungles, storms. He began to see betrayal everywhere. Even his closest companions, those who once followed him without question, now whispered of madness. They say one night after a feast, Alexander fell ill. Some said poison. Others said the gods finally took back what he had stolen, immortality. As he lay dying, surrounded by generals waiting for his crown, he was asked, "Who will inherit your empire?" Alexander whispered, "To the strongest." And then the man who almost conquered the world was gone. But in the end, he left behind more than ruins, a question that still haunts every dreamer. Is power worth the price of your soul? Centuries have passed. His empire has turned to dust. His cities have fallen, his armies long forgotten. But his name endures, whispered through time, carved in stone, living in every story of ambition and glory. Alexander wanted to be remembered forever, and in that perhaps he succeeded. Yet what remains is not his empire, but his question. What is greatness if it costs you peace? What is victory if it leaves you empty? Every empire falls, every name fades, but the desire to conquer, that never dies. It moves from one man to another, from one era to the next, disguised in new forms, power, fame, wealth. And so the story repeats itself, not on battlefields, but in hearts. Because in the end, every man still dreams of conquering the world, before learning that the hardest thing to conquer is himself.